Hey everybody, Indy back here, and I'm going to continue my series of Introduction to How to Play Rolemaster. I'm going to address professions today. Professions are the central piece to uh, seeing how your character is going to develop long term, whereas play is very skill-centered. Picking a profession is what you're going to do for determining and envisioning who your character is, what they'll be. And as I said earlier in the expectations video, um, the concept of profession in Rolemaster, profession is their word for class. It doesn't, so I like to do uppercase P and little lowercase p for how are you getting paid, uppercase P for the game mechanic. It represents what you find easy or difficult to learn and master. And they base this off of an idea of of a personality type. So this is not something that changes, and there's discussions and arguments about how much people's personalities actually change over time. Fair point. Anyways, getting to that, I'm going to start with Rolemaster 2 here. Let me switch pages here. So in general, the concepts are, they have them broken down into what they call realms. So there's the 3 casting realms, and then there's a 4th realm just called arms for those who are completely not spellcasters. So for instance, the base Rolemaster 2 game, or Rolemaster, comes with a fighter, a thief, a rogue, and a warrior monk in the realm of arms. And then they have 3 professions in the realm of essence, I think. Yeah, magician, illusionist, alchemist. So essence being all the spellcasters who are using like natural type forces, and magicians are the ones that come with all the fire and ice and earth and lightning kind of spells. Illusions are illusionists, and alchemists are they're the potion makers. And then there's the realm of channeling, and again they have 3 there. They have the cleric, the animist, and the healer. The cleric, why do they have a healer separate? Is a healer just a specialized cleric? No, a cleric is actually a person of the cloth. This is the person who does rituals. Their spell lists actually tend to be more around spirits, summoning, calming people, stuff like that, whereas the healer actually has healing lists. And then there's the mentalism. So channeling, obviously, by the way, that's the deific, religious-based magic, and then mentalism is kind of like the psionic from your own mind's power. And then I have just the straight-up mentalist, the lay healer, and the seer. The healer and lay healer in Rolemaster are quite an odd pair. So in Rolemaster, the lay healer spells, those are the ones that everyone that comes from something like Dungeons and Dragons might be thinking of. Hey, I'm going to heal you for 10 hits or whatever. The healer does the same thing. The target is healed from their wounds, but the healer does it sacrificially. They take the wounds on. So what's interesting is, so if the healer has spells to heal a target, and we got to remember this is Rolemaster, so you're not just looking at hit points. You're also looking at muscle damage, bone damage, things like that. They will, if they have the spells for it, they'll take all the spells in, all the damage in, and subconsciously they get healed of all the things that they can afford. If they don't have the power points to cast it all, they actually fall unconscious until their spells just keep firing subconsciously as they gain back the power points to handle all the damage that was dealt. So interestingly enough, like a lay healer takes on no personal risk, but if they don't have the power points, they simply cannot heal it. Whereas the healer can say, this fighter's got tons of damage, wounds, and muscle, bone, all that stuff. I don't have the PowerPoints to fix them all and get them out there and help, to finish off this fight. But that's okay. I can just take it all on, and as long as the fighter can get up and get going and be perfect health again, late fight, which is pretty good, then that fighter can go on and tend to the healer who's unconscious now. So anyways, I just wanted to point out those two differences because there's not something that people would expect. And then you've got hybrids. So the hybrids are any combination of two magic realms. So the sorcerer is essence and channeling, the mystic is essence and mentalism, and the astrologer is channeling and mentalism. And then there's a single hybrid for arms and each of the magic realms. So the monk, not the high warrior monk, but the monk, or the warrior monk, I should say. The monk is an essence user and arms. Ranger is a channeling and arms, and then bard is a mentalist and arms. And these were quickly house ruled a lot by a lot of people. And then so in one of the Rolemaster companions, they offered an optional rule, just kind of really making it official, I guess, in a way, that the monk would become the mentalist and the bard would become the essence user, which fits a lot of people's expectations better. If we hop over to the latest system, Rolemaster Unified, which is hopefully coming out soon, they have much the same thing, but they've brought in a bit more. So they've got the Realm of Arms, where they have a fighter, a warrior monk, a thief, a rogue, so that is the thiefy fighter, a laborer, so this is someone who specializes in the crafting skills, and the scholar, this is someone who specializes in the lore skills. But neither the laborer nor the scholar specialize in the combat skills. That doesn't mean they can't learn them. So if you want an adventuring scholar or an adventuring blacksmith, these would be the professions that you would take. Then we go into the realm of channeling, where again they have 3 base classes: cleric, druid. They have 2. That's right. Sorry, they have 2, cleric and druid, that are just pure spellcasters, and then they bring in 2 semi spellcasters. That would be arms and magic, the paladin and the ranger. And then essence, you see the same thing. You'll have 2 pure casters, magician, illusionist, and then 2 of the semis, the bard and the dabbler. And mentalism gets the mentalist and a lay healer, and then the monk and the magent. That is an unparalleled espionage skills and spells. And then the hybrid realm, so these are the 2 combinations of 2 magic. You've got the healer, the sorcerer, and the mystic. And now I'm going to get to the big meat of what makes these the professions you would want to pick most of the time, and that is the skill cost. So I'm going to zoom in on this one again. This is the Rolemaster 2. So you can see here, you can also see here the prime requisite stats that I mentioned before. So like the fighter is constitution, strength, the thief is quickness, agility, the magician is empathy, reasoning. All of the straight mages are of the essence, and of essence are reasoning, and all the channelers are memory, and all the mentalists, are presence. But what you see here is some of their skill costs. Now, remembering that you get about maybe say 25 to 30, depending on house rules and stats and some other things, development points per level. You see things like, hey, the fighter gets to develop his armor skills, so how well he can maneuver while he's in these armors, pretty cheaply, only 1 or 2 points, and he can buy them as many times as he wants per level. Whereas a thief starts only at soft leather. He can pay a bit more for rigid leather, but by the time he gets to chain and plate, it starts getting a bit more expensive to try to add those things on. Whereas a warrior monk is just kind of a flat out no. So they only get to buy 1 rank per level, and either at 9 or at 10 points. And the magicians are the same. They don't get the essence users. They don't get to maneuver in armor very well. Now, in all these cases, that doesn't mean they can't wear them. It just means that they won't get to maneuver in them as well. And you'll see the weapon skills. So fighter has some really nice costs. 1 point for the first rank or 5 for the second rank. This is actually a really complicated one to look at. But if you just look at the trend of the numbers, you can tell, hey, we get into these groups of pure spellcasters, and their costs go higher. And look at this. If I said, that you got 25 to 30 points a level to spend, here's 20 pointers right in here. Like you're not going to be chasing that down much. But let's look at these things differently. So if we look at climbing, just take a look at some of these. So what the fighter shows there is you get you can pay 3 development points to get a rank in fighting or in climbing per level. If you want a second rank, you need to pay an additional 7. So it'll cost you 10 to go up plus 10 per level. Well, not per level, but plus 10 on that level. And the thief, however, as we kind of more traditionally think of the thief as someone who's climbing up walls or scaling into compounds, they get 2 points for the first rank and 5 points for the second rank. So for the cost, they get 2 ranks per level for the cost that the fighter would have to pay just for his second rank alone. But then if we look at the magician has to pay 6 points to get 1 rank, and they are only allowed 1 rank per level. So this is the way that that you look at the spell costs. You look at the spell lists, like it costs a fighter a ton of money to develop development points to develop any spell casting. The rogue and the thief aren't that far off. But the pure spellcasters, they have an easy time of it. So, and if we swap over to Rolemaster U, you'll find out that things are pretty similar as far as what you see. The only difference here really being is that one, they've moved away from costing or pricing every individual skill and moved to pricing the categories of skills. And that is one of the things that has caused the most outrage, I think. And everything can be developed twice. Everything can be developed twice, and nothing can be developed as many times as you want. So there will be no asterisks, and there will be no single numbers on this sheet. But what you do now, what you might see is something like this, where the fighter's cost for developing a closed magic list is 2024. Keeping in mind that in Rolemaster Unified, you're getting 50 or 60 points per level period. Like it's based on more of the game settings, the settings that you want to set as a GM, rather than your stats or anything like that. And that was also explained in an earlier video. So yeah, you could get 2 spells per level as a fighter. You wouldn't really be doing much anything else. You would have 6 points left. The remaining 6 points up to 50 to get 5 power points with which to cast spells with. Yeah, but it can be done, which is the thing that I keep saying about Rolemaster. It can be done. It's just a question of whether or not you want to make that investment. So one more way that the professions emphasize what they do besides changing the skill costs is some kind of level bonus. Now the different Rolemaster systems did this differently. Rolemaster 2, what they have here is they have a table that says in these categories of skills you get this passive bonus per level. So a fighter constantly gets +3 to all their combat skills, and then that would be like all the weapon skills, +3 per level for anything, whether they've developed it or not. So if you have a decent strength and a really nice agility, and you've never developed any ranged weapon, and you're playing the fighter class, you know, say third or fourth or even fifth level, you may break zero. You may break from the negative 25 that is assigned to a skill you haven't developed. You may have actually overcome that and become positive between your stats and your per level bonus. So, you know, some fifth level fighter who's never shot a bow in his life can pick it up and get like a +2 to his attack. Now, the +2 to an attack, you're not scoring any really devastating hits unless you roll open-ended up, right? So that's basically the critical shot. You know, you have an average roll, you're probably not hitting anything because you still haven't trained in it. But at least it's not negative. Whereas the thief gets +2, and you'll see, say, here's the outdoor skills category. So different various classes get some of these per level. So the fighter and the thief get them, I think, and the rogue as more of a you're being an adventuring type, so you're out there, you know, roughing it and traveling on horses and trying to hunt for food and stuff like that. Whereas the essence users are all just kind of stuck in their towers. They don't know how to live on their own. And of course, it's the ranger who gets +3 per level on that. So that's how Rolemaster 2 handled that. It was passive, it was per level, and it was to all the skills in that category. I had to switch to a different view for this. This isn't out in their PDF rules yet for the Rolemaster Unified development. So what they've decided to do, and it's going to be a little harder to see here, is what they've listed 15 skills, individual skills, per profession. And what you get to do is you get to select 10 of these, and those 10 skills get one more point, one more percentage point, skill bonus to them per rank that you have developed. So what that means is in the earlier levels, when you're buying the ranks that give you +5 for the however many development points you spend, you'll get +6. Everybody else get 5, you'll get 6. And that's how Rolemaster U handled it. Rolemaster standard system and or FRP, what they basically did was they assigned a large chunk bonus to your professional skill. And I don't know if that's professional skill individually or professional skills categorically, but they added a large bonus chunk right at the beginning. So the person who has animal lore as a professional skill and gets one rank in it, and let's say they suddenly have a +5 for the one rank they bought and a +25 from their professional bonus. Boom, they're +30 with one rank. And the other person who doesn't have as a professional is just a +5. But it's just that one-time bonus. So the next level, they both invest one rank in that skill for whatever their development cost is, and they both go up 5 points. So the person who had a professional goes from 30 to 35, and the person who didn't have a professional goes from 5 to 10. So the same amount of increase from that point, it's just that the other person starts off ahead. Last comment I want to make about this is that if you heard me talk about spell lists for the different casters, this is one of the places where the older systems, well, all the systems, Rolemaster Unified, still in development, so we don't know exactly how they're going to handle this, but using Rolemaster 2 as an example, where they experienced a lot of bloat. So let's say they came up with the idea of an animal-centric fighter, the Beastmaster. Whoop. The Beastmaster. Now this is an optional profession, semi-spell user, that they added in one of the expansion books. So he has a bunch of spell lists. Let's say he has sense enhancement, combat enhancement, animal bonding, and movement enhancement. So like the enhancements kind of mimic the abilities of other animals, and the animal bonding is obviously about kind of getting kind of familiar, but not really familiar. And then he has a couple other lists, one that's the same as one of the animus-based lists from the core books, and the one that's similar to a generic channeling spell list. Now, they could have just included those spell lists and said, use this is a set of spell lists that you could use instead of the spell lists that we included for the ranger. But that's not what they did. They also tweaked a bunch of the skill costs. Yes, the Beastmaster and the Ranger. So the Beastmaster and the Ranger, let's say the Beastmaster, the Ranger had a cost of 1/3 for animal handling. So 1 development point for the first rank, 3 development points for the second rank. And the Beastmaster is 1/2. A small bonus, and you'll definitely feel that sometimes as you're developing a character. But there's plenty of other places where the Ranger and the Beastmaster are going to be neck and neck and have exactly the same costs. So what you would see in some of these other books is they would say, see such and such profession's spell cost or skill costs, except for these skills here, here, and here. And so really what they did was they tweaked an idea a little bit, mostly changed by the spell lists that were assigned to that profession, and then just small other, like what's really their domain, tweaks to the cost of skills. But that meant that for every different idea of some kind of major spellcaster, you had a whole different profession. But in the pure arms realm, there was still only ever, monk, fighter, thief, rogue. That's not exactly true. They made some other examples of those. Like there was one called a duelist or something like that, and he was essentially a fighter, but he specialized in only ever learning one weapon. So he had that single weapon cheap cost, but then all the other weapons were really expensive to kind of force them down the path of only ever learning one. And I'm sitting here thinking, why don't you just pick a fighter and only ever develop one? But whatever. So that's kind of my overview of professions. I feel like if I was teaching you how to play, I've left some things out. So please post questions and comments if you've got any. And I will see you on my next Intro to Rolemaster video or some other role-playing video. Let's have fun. Later.